All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and I know it feels like it's taken forever, but the day has finally come. The Rev2 board was released. Bootmod has released all the information. They've even posted a DIY showing how it can be installed on your BMW. So this is huge news after waiting. All of the teasers and everything are finally put to rest for some of us. So in this video, I'm going to share with you all the details of what we know now and what we can expect in the future. So if this is a part of your plans, you know what to expect. So let's talk about it. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now, pretty much all of the information in this video comes from either Bootmod's posts or their videos or the Keys Motorsports video that showed the DIY and how they installed it on their M3. So if you guys want to check that out for more information, definitely go follow their pages. They'll be posting more information over the upcoming weeks, and I probably won't make a follow-up for every little update. So if you want to hear all the latest and greatest news and details, definitely check out their pages. But let's talk about the Rev2 board. And all of this really starts with the new CustomRom V2. So Bootmod released the CustomRom V2, and it's an evolution of their existing CustomRom that added capabilities for map switching, flex fuel, anti-lag, and things like that. The new V2 has even more capabilities. And we've talked about this a little in the past, so I'll just kind of breeze through it, but it adds additional safeties, so additional check engine codes and things that you can control to keep your engine safe. And it also adds some extra capability for boost control, flex fuel control, custom launch control, just additional custom logic to help your car meet your goals. I think one of the cool things we saw showcased at TX2K was the new bump-in feature. So it basically allows the car to perform like it has a trans brake. You can get into the two-step or launch control and then bump forward into the beams. And then when you get your light, you can release the brake and take off. So that's a really nice feature that they were able to tune into the car using CustomRom V2. And then another big one for anybody that's doing custom tuning is the live tuning option. So right now, if you're doing custom tuning, you run a log, send it to your tuner, they upload a new file, you flash that to your car, and you kind of keep going back and forth. Now with the live tuning option, you can literally connect to your car and make changes on the fly without flashing any maps or anything like that. All you have to do is bring your car back to a standstill, adjust whatever parameters you want to change, and get right back into the car. So in theory, you could have your tuner remote into your car, directly connect to your car, and have them make changes on the fly. So now there's no flashing. They can simply review your logs and make changes and see it in back-to-back pulls. So that's a really cool feature to streamline the custom tuning process and make it a lot more simple. Now, yes, this does require an unlock DME. So if your car is after the June 2020 cutoff, you will need a Rev2 Unlock. If you already have a Rev2 Unlock, you will need to send it back to get the new logic put on that enables the CustomRom V2. So even if you have existing CustomRom, you'll need to send it back to get the new V2 version. Now, if you have a clone DME that performs just like a pre-June 2020 car, or if you have a car that doesn't need a Rev2 Unlock, then you should be able just to flash this update through the OBD port like normal. But yes, the biggest thing coming out with CustomRom V2 is the ability to use the Rev2 board. And the Rev2 board is key here because what I'm really coming to understand, it's not as much of a reflex competitor as I thought it was. It's actually more of an extension of the existing DME so that everything is going to be working in complete cooperation with each other. Everything will communicate with each other, and you basically just flash one tune to your DME and it controls everything. So think of it less as its own auxiliary controller or standalone tuning module, and instead it's kind of just adding additional inputs and outputs to your existing DME. And all of this is going to be flashed through the boot mode map editor. It's all going to be in existing tables that are built into the software, and you just flash it to the DME through the OBD port like any other tune. Now the Rev2 board has pretty much everything they already promised. So it has the water resistant casing so that when you mount it in your engine bay, you reduce the risk of damaging any components from water or moisture being introduced to the box. It has a bunch of inputs and outputs. I think this box has more inputs and outputs than I've seen in any other port controller option we have on the market. I think some of the ones that really stood out to me was the meth control. So it actually has a meth level sensor as well as a meth flow sensor. So if you have a meth injection system, it will make sure that you have meth in your tank, and it'll make sure that the meth is actually spraying when you expect it to. Otherwise, those safeties will kick in and it will reduce the power and put you in a safe mode. It also has line lock capability, so you can use your steering wheel controls to turn on the line lock, and that will allow you to get a better burnout so you can get a better launch when you're drag racing. And then they even have other inputs like nitrous bottle pressure, so you can make sure it's within the safe window for operation before you use it. Turbo wheel speed, so if you have a turbo like my EFR that's really sensitive to spinning too fast, you can put a wheel speed sensor on there and connect it to your Rev2 so you know if you're overspinning it or not. And probably my favorite one is their exhaust flap control for port injection. And the way that they control it is through the exhaust flap signal. They are able to send a signal to the Rev2 board to fire your injectors. So now you're not relying on the Rev2 to determine when the injectors should spray. It'll basically be a signal sent out by the DME through the exhaust flap to the Rev2 board to fire the port injection system. I just think that's a really creative solution to make port injection completely controlled by the DME. Now, I think something unique here is also it comes with a plug and play harness. So a lot of kits in the past, they come with the flying lead harness where you have to tap your DME and stuff. This comes standard with a plug and play harness. So you're not going to have to splice any wires. I think the only two you'll need to do are depinning and repinning the footwell module with some wires so that you can actually connect it to the DME signal. But all of your map sensor, cam sensors, crank sensors, all of that uses the plug and play harness by plugging directly into sensors on your car. Now, there are a couple things it doesn't include that you would probably definitely want to add, even if it doesn't come with it standard. One is flex fuel, which everybody at this point pretty much wants flex fuel capability. It doesn't come with flex fuel sensors, although it does come with a harness for it. So you will need to purchase a sensor and an installation kit. Either they have their Pro Tuning Freaks kit, or you can use like the Precision Raceworks 360 fittings, and that will allow it to install directly in line with your existing fuel line. So if you already have a sensor, great. If not, it's an add-on that costs a little extra money. It also doesn't come with a fuel pressure sensor, which for some cars you already have a low pressure fuel sensor. So that's something that you might not need. The stock sensor actually goes directly to the high pressure fuel pump. So it's primarily used for the direct injection system. And they still recommend adding this on if you're going to be running a port line, or even better, if you run a completely separate fuel line from your fuel tank and a dedicated line just for the port injection with a return, and you've got, you know, a fuel pressure regulator built in and all of that stuff to really take advantage of the port injection system and keep it safe with higher boost levels. This boost sensor will give you all the safety that you need to make sure everything's in check. They even have an option to recalibrate larger boost pressure sensors. So they put like a 7-bar sensor on their car. If you watch the Pro Tuning Freaks video, they have a lot of capability there depending on how much boost you want to run. Since the factory map sensor is pretty small, it maxes out around 23 PSI. That's definitely something that anybody that's running higher boost levels can take advantage of to get proper control over your fuel flow and things like that. So very cool setup with a lot of capability. Now, like I said, the installation is just like a typical plug and play setup. So you'll plug into the various sensors and split your lines with one plug going into the sensor itself and the other plug going into the engine harness. And that's how it pulls the signal that's going to the sensor while still passing it through to the DME. Now, again, the Rev2 board is not a controller. It's not a tuning box in itself. It is just something that sends the signals from the sensors to the DME. Everything still gets flashed directly to the DME with one tune, so you don't need to flash any extra bin files. You don't need any extra software to flash to it. The only thing they did mention is if you update the firmware, that is something that you do through Wi-Fi connected directly to the board. So you would connect to it and upgrade the firmware if that was ever needed. But they expect that's a really rare case. Otherwise, everything is done through the OBD port. Flashing, logging, all of that is done just like a regular DME tune. Now, as far as the cost, it is definitely on the high side. If you have everything optioned out, currently it's over $2,000. I think the base kit is around $1,700, so it's very, very expensive. But keep in mind, this comes with a plug-and-play kit. It comes with a lot of extra inputs and outputs, which means a lot more wiring and stuff is built into it. And the capability is definitely there. It is a lot more capable than what we have on the market, considering the extra input and output options that they have. Now that could change in the future as we get a little more competition. We know that that helps push everything forward. But as it stands, it seems like the most capable option on the market. And being more of an extension of the boot mode tune compared to a standalone box, it seems like it's very much catered to their software. It actually indicates on their website that it only works with boot mode. So unless you had some other custom code in a different tuning software to try to enable it, I wouldn't expect this to work with anything else. So it's literally not its own standalone box. It's just an extension of the DME using the custom code that they put in to CustomRom V2. So yeah, higher cost, but a very unique and very specific setup for users that are looking for these specific items. And if you're a boot mode user, you already have boot mode on your car, or you're considering boot mode on your car, this very well could be the option that you want to go with. The only problem is a lot of us are still going to have to wait. This is currently only released for S58 cars. So M3, M4, X3M, X4M. You guys have the option to literally buy it right now and install it on your car. All of the capability is there to flash the software and get the Rev2 board working. They said that the B58 options will be coming soon, so we'll kind of have to wait for that, and I'll let you guys know whenever that does come out, hopefully very soon, but I anticipate there are a lot of issues with that. One is, again, the cost. It's just very expensive. I anticipate that their M3 and other S58 customers are going to be more willing to pay the extra cost since they get the M tax on other stuff anyway. Also, it's going to have its own unique wiring harness. If you looked at any of the S58 installation guides, you can see that their sensor locations and things are all very different versus a B58 engine. So if they're going to make a B58 harness and have it set up with a B58 engine mount and all of that good stuff, making sure the wiring lengths are right, the connectors are right, they're going to have to do that specifically for a B58 engine. And then I think the last thing is the CustomRom V2, because this is more than just the Rev2 board. They need the logic built into the tune that can take advantage of the Rev2 board as well. So yes, the box is available. Yes, maybe they even got some wiring available, but they'll need to work through the software, get their beta testing done, and do all of that before they release it to the public and say it's actually a good final product. Now, again, I'm confident they've been working on that, so I hope it's released soon, but I can understand why they would prioritize S58 since it's newer. There are less customers that are already tuned. They're still selling new S58 cars. They're not selling new Gen 1 and Gen 2 B58s anymore, believe it or not. So it's just a much more open market with a lot more capability to pull in new customers. So yeah, again, check out Boot Mode and Keys Motorsports. It seems like they both had this lined up for the release today. So I think they're doing a lot behind the scenes, and we'll be posting videos over the next couple weeks sharing more and more information. And of course, follow their social media to look out for the new releases when it's coming out for the B58 engine and potentially others as well. And I'm just excited to see what people do with this. A lot of the strategies that don't just make more power, but make it more convenient to use and make everything work together like it should or like we wish it was, I think is really what's making this stand out. So curious to hear your thoughts. Is this what you've been waiting on? Are you expecting more or less? Let me know what you guys think. But I think that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.